Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of VGC Off The Record. It is, of course, Friday, roughly around lunchtime. So we're here live to chat about all the big news from across the world of video games. There's absolutely loads to talk about. What am I kidding, actually? Today we're going to waffle loads about video game films and all that kind of stuff because it has been a relatively quiet week, but it's been an interesting week nonetheless with a whole variety of stories. And I've got a couple of regulars alongside me. Of course, I've got the tired old hack himself, Mr. Christopher Scullion. How you doing, my friend? You good?
Yeah, good. Can't complain. Like a personal note, my Mega Drive Encyclopedia has finally turned up at the warehouse after weeks and weeks of it being stuck at the docks because of all the carry on that's going on. So, yeah, finally happy with that.
That's wonderful, wonderful. Have you, what's the what's the release date and so on, or when's it available for people to actually grab?
It'll be out next week for directly from the publisher, and then mid-November it should be finally turning up at Amazon and the like. So.
That's
Fun
amazing
times.
news. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm delighted. Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, go and check that out. I'm sure Chris has tweeted about it over in his Twitter, which is at Scully1888. Make that man successful for Christmas. Get buying that Mega Drive Encyclopedia. Alongside him as well is the man behind the numbers from GamesIndustry.biz, Mr. Christopher Dring. All the Chris's today. Written any books today, mate? All good?
No. No. I have done what I do, which is a story about market data. I did do that. It's not quite as exciting. People won't be rushing to pre-order that one.
Although the FIFA one today was interesting. That interested me.
Yeah, well, it was.
You sound surprised.
Well, it's FIFA. Well, it's most of the time it's like games sold X, but FIFA being like 77% digital this year, which only last year was the first year that it became mostly digital. Normally it's mostly physical dead box sales, so it's really accelerated to like over 75%.
That's interesting, isn't it? It's really interesting.
Yeah.
75. I hadn't seen that story. 75%. What was like? Is that like a record in terms of split of digital and games that have? Yeah.
Well, I mean, FIFA's quite mainstream, so it tends to do quite well in box because it sort of appeals to people that perhaps don't download as much. But last year, and I guess the pandemic accelerated that, 62% of its launch sales were digital, which was a big deal then, and that's gone to 77%, so it's jumped 15% in a year. And that's because EA did the Ultimate Edition, where you could only that was only a digital version of that, so you could get the game early and that kind of stuff. It really drove digital sales in quite a big way. I mean, it's not always like that for every game. Like Far Cry, what Far Cry is it, 6? That was mostly digital, but only a little bit. It's like 55, 45. So it's not it's not the case for every game, but it was a bit. If you're a games retailer, that's bad news. If you're the biggest game of the year,
you really drive digital sales as well. Like Drinko says, not only this was the Ultimate Edition digital only, but through the game you got a 10% discount if you pre-ordered it through the game's main menu, and then if you were subscribed to Game Pass Ultimate or EA Play, you got another 10% off it. So basically you could get 20% off the game by ordering it through the game. So that obviously drove up the kind of digital sales as well.
They really pushed it.
The thing is with the FIFA series, I mean, obviously some people want to collect them, but they stack up your shelves quickly because it's every year, so you do have a collection of games, and largely they're kind of redundant. I mean, in rare circumstances maybe, but who's really rushing to play FIFA 15 again? You know what I mean? Like, no one's going back to that, so they do end up just. I mean, you're looking at Chris, he's like, I am. But like in general, no, I've always like, look, you're playing 6 out of 10 games, so that was your thing. But in general, you're not going back to that because it becomes wasted plastic. I understand keeping, I don't know, an old Uncharted game, which we'll get to in a bit, I guess. Go on.
I mean, what can I say? FIFA 06.
There's something adorable about that in a way, I guess. No one's saying FIFA 14 is adorable, but FIFA 06, I would say.
Vintage.
You're not getting much trading, are you? Against
pennies.
Is it literally is probably pennies, isn't it? What are you playing at the moment anyway? How's your week in games been personally?
I started the trial for Riders Republic last night.
Oh, nice!
Because it's the free trials out for that. I played did like a preview event for it a month or so ago, and it was excellent. And the trial's just the same bit I'd played before, so I'm kind of retracing my steps. But
that looks fun, is it? It looks really fun.
It is. It's just after the best bits are these kind of mass races where every, I think, a half an hour or an hour or something like that, it goes bong, everyone come and do a mass race, and everyone runs to this signpost to get ready for it, and then it's like a 64 player race split over three races, and you get points depending on how you finish. So whoever has the most points after 3 races is the winner, and it's just carnage. Because obviously somebody at the front will fall and knock everyone else out the way, and it just becomes obscene. But it's great fun. It's brilliant.
Like 4 guys on bikes.
Pretty much.
That sounds amazing for what it's worth. I mean, that kind of vibe. I mean, I didn't realize that trial was that an open trial? Because
it's an open trial. It's an open trial. It lasts this week until the game's out, basically, and you get the first 4 hours. So you can, over the course of the week, you get 4 hours of playtime, and then it stops. But those 4 hours, the progress then carries over to the main game if you buy it.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's not like a long demo or anything. It's essentially the start of the game.
That's good.
Yeah, it's worth a look. Worth a look.
Yourself, Drinker?
Oh, I'm quite behind in my games. I've quite a busy couple of months, so I'm sort of trying to catch up, and I'm right at the end of Skyward Sword. So I've sort of Deathloop. I was playing quite a bit as well, but I just haven't had much TV time. So I've been on the OLED, smashing through, getting through the Zelda.
I've developed a serious case of switch neck, as I call it, or dread neck now. Like, essentially, when I sit there on the sofa and light, it's dread neck, which is it's going to be a medical term. And I've had a crick in my neck for the past week, and I know it's from last Friday when I lay down on the sofa like that, playing on the OLED intensely from dread and loving it. But the next day I woke up and I literally couldn't move my neck, and it was agony. And that's for the Switch. So I'm going to sue Nintendo, essentially. If you're watching Shigeru or whatever, or Mario, if you're watching Mario, I'm coming for you, mate. But either way, it's been dread for me this week. My wife's playing. You probably have heard of it. A little indie game called Spiritfarer. And she absolutely loves it. She loves it. And I must admit, I've been watching her play it on the big screen while I'm on the Switch. She's playing it on Game Pass, and I would absolutely recommend that to anyone who's got any interest in management games, you know, the likes of Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley and so on. And I actually see it seems better than them, in my opinion. The story in the world's so charming, so beautiful. Yeah, I would recommend that to anyone. But anyway, there is more video games. Video games never stop. This is, of course, VGC Off The Record. Every Friday around midday, we try and go live to deliver you some of the most considered, most informative takes and all the big stories from the world of video games. And if you're a fan of this, of course, you can catch us here live on YouTube around midday on a Friday, or you can catch us on all the major podcast providers. So if you're listening to us on the way to work or whatever, doing the dishes like I do and all that kind of stuff, that's where you can find us. But there's quite a few things to talk about. We're going to start with the Uncharted movie trailer before moving on to a little bit of Splinter Cell news, which was broken this week by VGC, and talk about scalpers, annoyingly, as always. But we're going to start with the Uncharted movie trailer because the Uncharted movie has finally revealed itself to the world. I'll play the trailer in the background right now as we're all waffling away, so you can see if you haven't already seen it. And it involves a young Nathan Drake, Tom Holland, with Mark Wahlberg playing as Sully. And I know this particular trailer has incited quite a response from one of our guests, which we'll get to in a minute. But of course, has this got a release date yet? I can't even remember. I've got the wrong article up on screen.
January, isn't it?
It's early next year at some point.
Let me quickly read from VGC's article. It says Sony's released an official Uncharted movie trailer. The 2.5-minute trailer arrives after a teaser version leaked on Wednesday. Rather than following the plot of the games, which have sold over 41 million copies, the movie tells a prequel story featuring Nathan Drake as a young treasure hunter learning from his mentor, Victor Sullivan, which is obviously Sully as we know him. It does also include, as you'll see in a minute on screen, a set piece taken from Uncharted 3, the very famous plane scene, which looks fun. It's scheduled for release on February the 18th, 2022, so it's not long as well. Of course, you've seen Chloe there as well in the trailer. Christopher Scullion, what did you make of this trailer?
I'm not a big. I would say I'm not a fan of the Uncharted games. I just haven't. They're on my backlog basically, so I'm not like an enormous Uncharted devotee anyway in the first place. Okay. So I'm up for it. I'm always up for. One of the weird things about me is I'm always up for movie adaptations of video games, no matter how good or bad they are. So I'll watch it despite not really knowing much about the series. Tom Holland doesn't strike me as a kind of rugged action hero. I think it worked in Spider-Man because he looked a bit geeky, so that kind of doesn't work for me. There is a line at the end of the trailer in which a large man with an abysmal Scottish
which is on screen right now
appears.
for what it's worth.
Is that right? Well, he comes on and,
right now
and says something along the lines of, "You shouldn't have come in here, wee inn, because you're going to get a Scottish welcome." and then Tom Holland goes, "What?" And it's like, "Oh, get it? Scottish people don't make sense." So that irked me slightly.
Slightly.
Slightly. I think you underplayed it there, mate.
To the extent I went on Twitter and went on a big rant, saying "piss off." So yeah, that wasn't great. But that aside, I'm sure it'll be fine. There's a lot of money being put into it, but it's not for me.
No, I get your frustration because they obviously overdid it. I've been to Scotland plenty of times. I mean, even that they purposely found the most. They really over-egged that accent to the point where they tried to make it awkward for the joke. And, it was a bit silly, really, wasn't it?
It's the Catherine Tate joke, isn't it? With Nan, a Scottish person, goes something about kilts. It's that hilarious joke. But in that comedy, the joke is on the racist Nan. It's not on the person in the room who's talking to us. So it feels it felt wrong.
Yeah, it was. The one thing I would say, it was. I kind of like the commitment to have the heavy type of bad guys, which is like they've got a big burly guy, which is exactly what they do in Uncharted. It's funny because you were just saying, Dringo, Scullion, that you're all for any form of video game, film or adaptation or TV, so on. Yeah. You're the exact opposite, aren't you, Dringo? The exact opposite.
Well, I'll go sit. I'm game. Like if it's a video game based, I watch. If I keep calling it, is it Free Guy? The one with the
yes.
I watch that, and I watch. I actually haven't seen Sonic, which is an odd thing. I'm not a massive Sonic fan, but I would have normally seen. Detective Pikachu, Tomb Raider, Silent Hill. I go see them all. I even love the Resident Evil franchise. I'm a bit of an apologist for that. So I'm not like I'll go to watch them. It feels games turning into film, right? For me, I understand you take a film or a universe in any other world and you turn it into a game, and what you're doing is you're giving the opportunity to explore that universe. Like Spider-Man is the best example of it, I think. Yeah. The Spider-Man is a wonderful comic book, a wonderful film. You take it into a game and you have the opportunity to discover all the little worlds and little crannies and nooks and see all that, it makes it feel real. Whereas, and you get to experience it and you get to be fun and the interactivity and actually be the hero. Whereas in, when you do it the other way, what you're doing is you're stripping out all the game bits and you're leaving it with the story, which can be good because Uncharted's, an entertaining story and The Last of Us is an entertaining TV show. So, entertaining may not be the right word. It's a good story. So you can see why that would work, but you are taking away stuff rather than putting in things. And it's the thing I've got with my favorite example is the Ratchet and Clank movie, right? The Ratchet and Clank movie is rubbish, but it's really just the stories of Ratchet and Clank. But the game is amazing because the game is so much fun. You take away all the fun and you're left with, the bits that
cheap CGI trailer, really. Let's be honest. And
you're left with the cutscenes. Yeah.
And no one wants to play cutscenes.
Ratchet and Clank is when you finally realise actually it's not that funny, is it? It's you thought it was when you were playing it, but as you know, it's not. But it's and I have that with I'm up for it. I love it. It's a marketing thing, right? You're taking the brand that's popular in games and you're taking it into the world. Same with the Mario movie, right? Because everyone's getting the whole Chris Pratt thing, and everyone's sort of talking about, is the right casting for Mario? Nobody's crying out for a Mario movie. No one's going, I really want to see Mario's Sunshine turned into a gritty TV series. It's not that
bugs and all, like falling through the map and stuff like that. Literally. That's what I want to see. Literally, the glitches. Like, got to do that star again because the game wouldn't let me pick it up or whatever. Anyway, I digress. You were saying.
No, I was just saying. I don't think that people are asking for that stuff. Really, nobody's really wanting it. But it makes sense from a sort of brand expansion, bringing new people into the universe, people that don't play games. It makes sense from that sort of perspective. So whenever I see a game to a film or TV thing, it feels like a marketing beat. It doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It's not worth watching. It's just
what makes this a success. I mean, obviously it's box office figures, I know, but in general, this is not like a little indie film. They've got Tom Holland. He's literally the golden boy of Hollywood at the moment, and Mark Wahlberg. I mean, I put on the thumbnail of this video, will the Uncharted movie be a success? And I guess that's a broad question, really. I mean, what is a success for Sony in this instance? Is it driving people towards the games? Does the film need to be critically acclaimed? Does it need to just do numbers? What do you reckon?
Both. It's the thing is, what the games industry did a little while ago is, it's in the comic book industry. Like, comic books were hit and miss. Comic book movies are hit and miss. So what Marvel did is went, we're going to do it ourselves. We're going to make these films now. You guys back off. And the result of it was something that's more authentic, but also they've become very successful and they're now a lot more consistent. The games industry gone through a similar thing. Like, this is PlayStation Productions. Ubisoft stuff is made now by Ubisoft. They use production houses and all that sort of stuff, but they have taken control of these shows and films, and the results have been a little more consistent. Not massively so. The Assassin's Creed movie was a Ubisoft production, and it wasn't exactly brilliant. But I think the Uncharted. I think Uncharted is like one of those games where maybe I'm wrong. I've played them all, but I don't know. And I actually worked on the first Uncharted game. I don't know if the fan base is that, like, maybe I'm giving it its game, so they must be, but that sort of vigilant on accuracy and all this kind of thing. I think if it's just a fun sort of Indiana Jones style national treasure throwaway, it will be fine and everyone will be happy. I don't think it looks great. Tom Holland's own comments about the film don't bode well. No. I don't think he looks like a very good, I thought the Nathan Fillion's little Uncharted fun thing he filmed himself looked more entertaining than what I saw in that trailer. And when I watched that famous scene from the game when he's climbing from when he falls out of the plane and that kind of stuff, and the recreation of that, it made me want to play it. I don't really want to watch him fall out of the plane. I want to be the one climbing up through the ropes. So I think it needs to be good. And the cinema at the box office at the moment is so tricky though. It's like you got James Bond did very well, and people, it's a weird world, and we're in an unusual spot where there's like a blockbuster movie out every 2 weeks at the minute. So I don't know I don't know how they'll work out the expectations.
Well, Dan O'Connor in the chat is saying that the fact it's being dumped out in February is telling, potentially. I mean, it does seem like the sort of thing they may have wanted to save for a summer blockbuster if they had enough faith in it, but I don't know. I think the problem with video game movies is they peaked with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat in the early 90s, and you're never going to
say the Super Mario Bros. Original then for a second.
Oh, that was all right. But Street Fighter will always remain the best because it was one of the worst, and you either have to be so bad it's great like Street Fighter was, or genuinely good, which they rarely are. Like Sonic was okay, it was pretty good. The majority of them are just boring. And
I think you got to remember, Sonic and Big Deputy are kids' films, so we're watching them. They are aimed at kids.
And his kids' films are totally fine.
I think they're actually pretty good kids' films, I would say. I'd go as far as saying they're actually quite good. And it's like, because I walked out... Go on, what are you going to say, Jingo?
I was going to say, I was upset that there isn't a Detective Pikachu 2. I think that's the thing that made me go, really?
I'm surprised. I thought he did quite well, and I feel like there's room for that character, that world to definitely evolve. Because that's the one thing they did really well with that. The world was beautiful, and it was very Pokemon, and they definitely could have expanded. I mean, I think it's weird because these stories naturally, I mean, it doesn't mean they can't be watched of anyone, but they are kids' films. And the thing is, I guess I was hoping with the Uncharted one is mainly, like, obviously, it's not going to... The problem we've got with modern games is that they're so well performed, so well acted, and so on, is that you associate those people with those faces, and because they look real anyway. There's an uncanny valley situation where you just associate those voices, and it's hard to recreate them. But you kind of want someone who's going to capture at least the essence of the person, very much. And my only problem was not with Tom Holland. It was more that Tom Holland doesn't seem to do what Nathan Drake does. Not because it's Tom Holland, it's just because he didn't have... When you think of Nathan Drake, you think of this kind of like goofy swagger to him, doesn't he? He's a bit nerdy. He's a bit like enthusiastic and passionate about history and so on. But he's also got like a little playful kind of boyish Jack the Lad charm to him. But I don't think Tom Holland has that, and he doesn't have that same charisma.
It's not.
It's
an odd
doesn't
casting.
Feel like him. Yeah. Mark Wahlberg's a better Nathan Drake than Tom Holland, probably. And like for me, is like I mean, I'm just obviously throwing out who I'd love here. I mean, to me, I would like Nathan Drake to be in his mid-30s, kind of like when he's when he looks a bit more like he's a little bit more world-wise and so on, and Sully can be a bit older. And do you remember Poe Dameron in Star Wars? And he's like a little back and forth. That's pure Nathan Drake. That is pure Nathan Drake with a little when he's doing the whole like, do I speak first? Do you speak first? What's going on? The mask. And he's doing all that kind of stuff. And like that to me is what Nathan Drake should be. And I'm not really sure Tom Holland has that. But will it be a success? I think it'll probably do all right. I think also one thing it lets it down, by the way, is it doesn't have that bombastic song for the trailer. And I know that sounds really weird, but music and nostalgia will drag you through something if it's linked to a game or something. I don't think it has that. Uncharted, the series, doesn't have that either. So,
as a bare minimum, it'll make its money back. It's not going to be a flop, like a box office flop. It's going to make its money. So in that respect, it'll be a success. Enough people know the game that they'll go and see it, like just to see what it's like.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a safe bet. Just whether it's going to be critically acclaimed and successful enough to justify an Uncharted 2 remains to be seen.
I don't think Tom Holland wants to do it by the sounds of it, because of those quotes that Dring mentioned earlier. He sounded like he was bored during the set of it. So
yeah, I think he thinks he was the wrong. I think he's confused by his own casting.
Yeah,
in that. But you know, have you seen Nathan Fillion's Uncharted?
Yeah, have you? Yeah, have you?
It's really good. And it's like it's a homage to the games. But that scene where he's in the chair and that banter he has there, he mocks them. It's
just because he was 15 years younger, because he would have been perfect. But he is a little bit. There's one bit in that film I watched him back though. Is when he's running and he just runs like your dad. Like he definitely runs.
That's him recreating the game-esque running. They move the camera behind him, don't they? It's all done. It's all done in that tour. But I don't mind it being a young Uncharted, because that way you're sort of avoiding direct comparisons to the games. It's just maybe old Uncharted might have been better.
Maybe just the right person. He just doesn't seem to have the swagger, does he? Like, I would
have just liked an hour and a half movie of the scene where he sits on the couch and plays Crash Bandicoot. I would have happily just watched that for an hour and a half.
You know what? This discussion does make me want to play the games again. That's the thing. It does, and that's the point. Maybe that's the point.
I've got great news for you, Stephen. They're re-releasing them on PlayStation 5 around the same time. It's
what a coincidence, eh? With 4 extra pixels or something like that. I mean, I've watched those trailers back to back, and I cannot see the improvements.
4 extra pixels.
But there's no improvements. I'm sorry, I've watched them. Like, there's nothing there. That is like, it's the same picture meme. It is the same picture, and I've watched it back, and like, maybe there is, maybe I'm just too basic to appreciate it. But I asked these guys anyway prior. What's that? Sorry.
I'm the same. Whenever somebody shows me, I thought the same for Alan Wake, and everyone looked at me like I was crazy. It looks the same, doesn't it? No, it looks completely different. That's what we mean.
I think it's even less than that. One thing I would say is, on Naughty Dog territories, I replayed Last of Us 2, and because that came to 60 FPS, and obviously that's a game changer. So but make Uncharted 4 with 60 FPS, you know, is it going to be 60 FPS? I can't remember if it is or not. That really does obviously change how it feels massively, because it just feels so much more fluid and so on. So I'd replay in that instance. But anyway, before this, I asked these two fine gentlemen alongside me, if they could come up with an idea or a pitch for a video game that could be turned into a TV series or a film or so on. I'm going to start. If you haven't got one, don't worry about it, because I kind of forgot them 5 minutes before we went live. Scully, have you got one, man?
I've been thinking about one. This is an idea I'd like to. So it stars Ben Affleck, because I'm a massive Ben Affleck fanboy, and I'll watch him in anything. So Affleck's the star no matter what. Even though the role suggests a younger character, it's Affleck anyway. And so the trailer opens with him in like a leather jacket. He's dressed like a biker. He basically looks like Tom Cruise in Top Gun, but like the first Top Gun. And he's riding a bike down the road really fast. And he pulls up outside this giant hangar and knocks on the door, and like a wee slot opens.
Is it Microsoft Flight Simulator?
No, it's not. It's not. It's close, but it's not. And he knocks on the door, and the slot opens up. Goes, yeah, and Affleck goes, James McLeod sent me, and the door opens up, and he comes in, and you think it's going to be Star Fox because of the McLeod reference, but it isn't. And he comes in, and it's Woody Harrelson behind the door, and Woody Harrelson's looking rough as hell, and he's just like going, "What's your experience?" And Affleck's like 15 years in the U.S. military, Air Force, and he's like, "Okay." So Affleck goes, "When do we start?" And Harrelson just does his usual kind of smile and goes, "We," and he goes, "Listen, son. You got a lot more to do before you get your pilot wings." And then it goes pilot wings, the movie, and then it's basically just like an action franchise, similar to the Fast and the Furious movies, but with planes in it. So,
I love it.
But the first movie has got no action in it. It's literally just Ben Affleck relearning how to fly by flying through,
flying targets,
flying through rings really slowly, and putting a bird suit on and flapping into the side of Mount Rushmore and everything. That's like kind of the movie. So yeah, I'm up for that. Pilot Wings, the movie.
I don't think we can follow that. You can certainly have a go if you want to be a little bit more basic. But I was not expecting a script. I absolutely, I love it.
I think GoldenEye would make a good movie.
I've heard of that,
I've always wanted.
Just looking like, how the fuck do I follow that? Like.
I did when I was a kid. I always wanted to be a Zelda movie, so I always had know the orchestral. Have you ever heard the orchestral version of the Gerudo Valley theme?
I listen to it like probably once a week. No.
So I've always had it in my head, and every time I listen to it, it's the same thing. It's like Navy, whatever. The fairy's outside. It opens up. She's outside. She's the Gerudo fortress, and Ganondorf's there talking about wanting to take the Triforce, be all powerful, and then Navy hears that, and then she flies off, you start hearing the music from that theme song hits in, and that's the opening music to the Zelda Ocarina of Time film. And then she's flying through Hyrule. She goes from Gerudo Valley through Lake Hylia and all that kind of stuff. So you see this whole landscape, see the characters, the Gerudos, the Zoras, and eventually ends up at the Deku Tree. So it's like the idea is that's the opening of the film. I've had that in my head since I was a kid, but I actually don't think it's about, again, it's what I said earlier. It's basically Zelda, but you end up taking away all the fun bits and just had it with the rather generic fantasy story. But I actually think as a Zelda story that would make a good TV show would be something like Majora's Mask. I think that would be a really good. That time loop thing and all those characters and the way they change and interact. It'd be quite a fun.
Yeah, because they could do something clever with it. Every episode could be the time could look back again, and that would be quite clever actually. Yeah, it'd
be quite fun, and I think it's quite dramatic, and it's got visually striking. So I think that would always be good.
I actually was Googling a bit of prep for this. I was Googling like people who could play Link because I was going to talk about some kind of thing. It's just so funny. On top of the list was like Tom Holland could play Link. I was like, for fuck's sake.
He would be a better Link than Nathan Drake.
He actually would. I mean, if one, you have to shut up for one. But like the one on that list, it was like Skull Kid, Timothy Chalamet. I was like, what the hell? But like I can slightly see it weirdly, but in his own kind of strange way. I mean, they just it's funny for the people who did the best version cinematically of any Zelda thing ever, Ember Lab, they went and made a game themselves anyway, didn't they, with Kina, Bridge of Spirits. They're the one who made that Majora's Mask trailer. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend that. I look, to be honest, I didn't really think of any ideas myself. I wouldn't mind some kind of Django Unchained take on Red Dead Redemption. Maybe Josh Brolin as Arthur Morgan or something like that. It would probably work. But what I think in general is, weirdly, I think video games should look towards The Mandalorian for inspiration. In terms of how to think in TV series, because The Mandalorian, if people haven't seen it, it's just a video game. The structure of it is it's fetch quests. It's literally just fetch quests. It's go to a new planet, do a side mission, person agrees to help them. It's that every single week, and there's something kind of fun and entertaining about that. And so many things like Zelda or Metroid that would really suit that kind of world. Go somewhere, be a bounty hunter, do some kind of thing, do it. That to me is where the inspiration should come from. Joe as well in the chat. Saying with The Last of Us and Halo getting TV shows, maybe TV is a better form of video game adaptations. And I probably agree with that, by the way. I think it probably is. Because it's bite-sized, fun, entertainment moments, isn't it? You don't need a big story. You just want half an hour of Zelda battling a big boss, don't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, but also you can go a bit deeper. You can go, Zelda sometimes. You can go a bit deeper, though, like with a TV show. You can sort of do those. The things of a film, you need to contain it in a. The best thing about like Fallout, I always find, is like that story that happened on that that had nothing to do with the plot that you discovered in that town over there. You can do that. In Mandalorian is a great example of it. There's loads of things that don't really tie into the central narrative of the Mandalorian, and but it was fun and interesting to sort of see and experience. But although again, Mandalorian, I wanted that to be a game, and I can probably name you a ton of TV shows and films I'd rather went the other way, and I'd like to go a little deeper and discover, just have a lot more fun in that. South Park video game was so much. I loved that. Just felt like I was back in going into the world of South Park. It's just
Let's move on, because if you haven't noticed this week, VGC broke. Let me switch over to the articles. A pretty big story, and this comes from Tom Hedison over at VGC. Ubisoft has greenlit what will be its first mainline Splinter Cell game in a decade. That's according to development sources who told us that the title has been put into production as a means of winning back fans frustrated by recent efforts to revive the franchise in the mobile and VR spaces. It's not clear which studios are working on the project, though two people with knowledge of Ubisoft's plans suggest that new Splinter Cell was being led by a studio outside of its traditional Montreal base. The title's in an early phase of production, the sources said, but there's a small chance it could be announced next year. The much requested sequel will arrive at a time when the company is looking to rebuild its image following a wave of discrimination and sexual harassment allegations. Employee groups said they're not satisfied with the level of action taken by Ubisoft to change its culture. Ubisoft declined to comment when approached ahead of publication. Obviously a much beloved series. I'm going to come to you, Scullion. So obviously this broke on VGC this week. Quite a big story. Obviously, it's been lots of demand for this. I don't know quite how much because I think Splinter Cell's fans are very vocal, so I'm not quite sure how representative it is of the broader gaming community or not. But this is interesting news, and I think it was probably slightly inevitable. Eventually, I think it was always going to happen. But what are your expectations of this, and how do you feel about this in general?
I personally, I'm not massively fan. I've never been a big Splinter Cell fan because I just hate stealth in games in general. I'm the most impatient gamer, so stealth just doesn't work well for me. But I appreciate the series for what it is, and the problem is, I was curious to see what the reaction would be because obviously I kind of knew the story was coming in advance. And I was thinking, well, when this goes live, how's this going to go? And it's funny because the reaction has been one person kind of summed it up perfectly when they said, on one hand, this is great news. On the other hand, this is terrible news, because I think modern Ubisoft. I think a lot of people are worried that it will be a modern Ubisoft style Splinter Cell, where you've just got again like a map with a million icons on it to clear. And I think some people are wondering how old school Splinter Cell is going to somehow fit in with modern day Ubisoft style gaming, which I don't know.
It's different, isn't it? Like video games and Ubisoft are different since then. Go on, what were you going to say, mate?
Ubisoft do. I mean, everyone focuses. They're big blockbusters, are Assassin's Creed and Far Cry and all those sort of things, and Watch Dogs, and those are those sort of games. But they do Mario and Rabbids, and they do like that ship game that they're working on. They do.
They did Steep as well, which is pretty decent. Good fun.
Yeah, they do these other, Starlink, I guess, to a degree. They do these other games that aren't structured like that. In the Prince of Persia remakes and the Riders Republics and the Just Dances, there's a lot more to Ubisoft. It's just that we think, when we think of Ubisoft, we think of those big, iconic games. And the thing is that Splinter Cell isn't actually one of them. It isn't. It's big budget. It's expensive. It's sort of actiony, but stealth genre isn't a big genre commercially. Ubisoft tried during the 360 generation twice to really give that Splinter Cell a big kick with I've forgotten, the Blacklist was one of them and Conviction was another. I can never remember which order they were in. And one of them launched really late in a console cycle, so that didn't help. But they didn't do huge numbers, and so I suspect this is and with games teams getting bigger, with Far Cry needing more people, Assassin's Creed needing more people, you can see why it's disappeared for so long. It's just that it requires a lot of people, a lot of effort, and there are other games that people are demanding more. But yeah.
I was going to say, is it a good time now for maybe a Splinter Cell comeback? Because obviously, we can't deny the nostalgia boost that happens. And I mean, I guess as well, you could argue that there's a template if they wanted to turn it into a big open world kind of thing, but then maybe isolated little kind of stealth sections. There's a template for that. It's Metal Gear Solid 5, isn't it? Really, let's be honest. that kind of thing. They could do that, and they could. One thing we can say about Ubisoft, whether we agree or not, is that they're pretty good at this open world thing in general. Like they know how to create a big world. Probably full of too many things, but they've got that down to a fine art now. So if they want to expand Splinter Cell into something like that, I would hope it'd be more condensed, of course, and nowhere near as sprawling as some of these games because it doesn't need to be. But they're definitely a different developer than I would say, that they were 10, 15 years ago, especially when Splinter Cell first came through, because games have changed, haven't quite a bit. So would we expect it to be a different kind of Splinter Cell? Would we expect it to change the kind of the franchise a little bit?
Maybe. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I would. I mean, it would be different, it'd be modern, but I think if what the report's saying true, it's about sort of trying to win fans back over because they've sort of stuck Sam Fisher and a load of other games that aren't really relevant to it. Then I suspect that this is going to really steer into what the fans are asking for. I'll be interested to see who's developing it. I'll be interested to see, like if it's a Ubisoft Reflections or one of the other studios that have worked on Tom Clancy games for a while but are support studios or something like that. I'll be really fascinated to see. But it'll be different as a result of that, naturally, anyway.
Breaking news here. Looks like 11th of November is the date for GTA Trilogy.
Okay.
It's just been announced. Pre-orders are up now. So
is that live on VGC right now?
I don't know. It just came up on my feed, so I hope so. But I just got it.
I'm gonna have a look and see if it's online. So what's that? 11th? Has it come with a trailer?
No, I literally just got a pop-up at the bottom telling me. So apparently pre-orders are available now. So if people watching this could kindly wait till we're finished and then go and pre-order it.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, are you still excited for it? Are you still? What's your expectations for it?
I'm massively excited for it.
Right, I found the article. Andy, it's up on VGC now, so I'll bring the article over one second. Here we go. Bang on. I'll quickly read this. Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy Definitive Edition remasters will launch digitally on 11th of November 2021. We're all reading this for the first time for what it's worth. So the release date was revealed via developer Rockstar's online marketplace, where the game is now available to pre-order for $59.99 or £55 over in the UK here, ahead of an official announcement expected imminently. The game also looks set for a physical release on selected platforms on December the 6th, according to the store listings, although the specifics are a little unclear as the website appears to be in the process of being updated. Officially, Rockstar said only that the collection will release later this year for consoles and PC, followed by mobile in 2022. Anything else of note there that is new? Let's have a look. I mean, there doesn't seem to be... it's come via online marketplace, so it hasn't been like all over Twitter or anything like that yet. Is that right?
It hasn't been officially. It hasn't been press announced. It's just been. It's just someone's pressed go till it was too early on the
on some e-commerce site basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what's your expectations for this? I mean, personally, mine are relatively low, and I'm not trying to be cynical. It's just I'm not really expecting much more than a shiny new skin, and that's maybe not even much of that really. But I don't know. Obviously, they're going to do the redo the controls, aren't they? Apparently, according to what I read 2 weeks ago.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm concerned or reassured by the gap between announcement and release. Like it seems to be the trend anyway.
It's 3 weeks away, isn't it? 3-4 weeks away, which is.
But Rockstar's one of those people that could say, "Oh, by the way, it's out now," and it would sell millions. They're one of the few companies that could do that. Alan Wake was announced 3 weeks before it was released, so I don't really know. But judging by the improvements made to GTA 5 for PS5 and Xbox Series, I'm not expecting too much. But
4 extra pixels.
That's the.
I'm gonna admit something. I've never played GTA 3, Vice City, or San Andreas. So I'm quite excited.
Yeah, that's perfect for you then.
Yeah, I did think it was weird. I started looking at all the games I was looking forward to playing this Christmas because I've got a big break at Christmas. I've got a lot of time off, and I went Alan Wake. I'm looking forward to actually properly playing that. Super Monkey Ball, the new Pokemon games, and the GTA trilogy. And I realized, I'm so old. There's not a single one of those games that's a new title.
Well, then maybe this is for you then. We haven't got the nostalgia link though. I guess you haven't at the same time. To be honest,
I was around. I was into games. Other people played it a lot.
I was there. I was around.
Yeah,
I was there. You were existing. I went back to San Andreas recently, and it didn't. In my opinion, it didn't hold up well. But I know it felt very clunky. The controls are very, very dated. You can tell it's like I went back to 3 actually, not at San Andreas. I tell a lie, which is obviously you expect it to be clunky. Of course it is. It was the first in that series, and I'm hoping they have improved it, but. I can't say I'm tempted personally, but we'll see. If it looks really good, it's really, really nice. But £55's a lot of money, isn't it? It's a lot of money.
A bit steep. I mean, I'll still get it because
you get the Nintendo Online service for that. You know what I mean? With N64 games, so.
I wrote a thing a couple of weeks ago when they first announced it, basically saying, "Look, I've bought them. I bought them on PS2 when they first came out. I bought them on Xbox, blah, 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 blah. But I've bought them every time they've been re-released. So I'll get them again, especially if there's enough enhancements as they seem to be suggesting. But like I said in my article, like they keep ignoring all the other ones. Like Vice City Stories, Liberty City Stories on the PSP were brilliant games. The original GTA and GTA London and GTA 2 were all brilliant. Chinatown Wars was great. Like these are games I would also like to see getting. Yeah, I don't know if there's a licensing reason for it, but I'm not sure because like all the music in the first GTA was produced in house, so I don't know what's going on there. It's just I would just like to see that. I love 3 Vice City and San Andreas, but it would just be nice to see the other ones get.
I would love a top-down GTA on the Switch, by the way. It'd be so much fun because I remember I was obsessed with them, especially GTA London, of course, because it had that UK link. But they never do it. But I can't imagine that's even will cost much at all to put it on.
Well, they did make it. They made Chinatown Wars on the DS. Was their big Nintendo effort, and then everyone pirated it, and then they blamed poor sales. They blamed all poor sales on that, and then thus. Yeah. There was no GTA Chinatown Wars 2. I kind of agree. The first couple of Grand Theft Auto games were kind of made by a different team. So it was a bit of a, it has the connection between, there's actually more connection between Body Harvest on the N64.
Yeah, the DMA people.
There is. Yeah.
That's one of my favourite trivia things is that the ice cream van in Body Harvest has the same ringtone, the same tone, doesn't it, as the ice cream van in GTA 3, I think.
Well, it's Leslie Benzies has led the development of Body Harvest. And Body Harvest is quite similar, isn't it, in terms of you get in cars, you go around the world.
The map as well was the same, I think, as well, in the corner.
Yeah. So it was sort of the precursor to it in many ways. So I imagine there's just not that much affection amongst the team. Regarding like Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories and Chinatown Wars, I think that'd be great. But this is the first time. I might correct me if I'm wrong. Actually, it's just the first time it's been released like genuinely as a collection. I understand it's been ported to modern consoles. This is the first time they've gone. Here's a collection.
The only time they did it as a collection was when it came to the original Xbox because they came to because 3 and Vice City came to PlayStation 2 first, and then by the time it got to San Andreas, they said, "Oh, it's coming to Xbox for the first time." And in fact, here's a big shiny box set with 3 and Vice City as well. So but since then, no, this is the first time.
So I wonder if looking at how other collections have gone, if this works, if it's popular, I could completely believe they'll do and here's the other games.
Part 2, even throwing 4 in there because 4 could do with a polish.
Yeah, that surprised me actually. I thought 4 was quite beloved as well, wasn't it? You can't see a GTA 5 tweet about people mentioning 4 in reply because it was really beloved game and a lovely recreation of New York in general. So I'd definitely be up for 4. But either way, we'll see how that goes. I mean, we haven't really had the trailer yet, have we? So that's the thing that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
That's the bit, isn't it? When everyone's going to go, yeah or no. And if I'm being cynical, the fact that they're leaving it really late suggests to me it's very much like. It is what it is. Put it out there, and some people will buy it, some people won't. And
I think the problem is it's a game that's so well loved that it's been modded to hell ever since it came out. So nothing they can do, almost nothing they can do, will look significantly better than a lot of the mods that have come out since. So
I did a whole analysis into remakes, remasters, and the thing is, there is a group of people that don't want you to change a thing. Right, that's the first thing. You leave it as it is, don't change it. And there's a group of people that want you to completely radically do it differently in a new engine and a new style. And then there's the people in sort of that would like it to be, in keeping with what it was, but sort of just brought up to date a little bit. And you always get that. That's the reason why the GoldenEye game that never got released had you can play it like you wanted, remember it, and you can play it like today. It's like that you have that sort of thing with games like this. So, and it's always a balancing act. And depending on how your opinion, it's gone one way or the other. I suspect they positioned it as remasters, so I suspect
that to me always should just depend entirely on the game. Like some games, it's all about game preservation, so of course you want it available on certain platforms. Some games they're everywhere already, so you just kind of want them different, So I think it always. I sometimes sit on both of those fences and something like leave it as it is, or a little bit of improvement would be nice. Like when I replayed Banjo recently, Banjo-Kazooie, and that obviously that remaster on the Xbox Live is it's fantastic. All the textures are nice and crisp, and it's widescreen, and the controls are better, and all that kind of stuff. That's perfect. So, having said that, I would love a remake. Of course, I would, in the style of the Smash Brothers levels, with the animations and so on. Of course, I would. I'd like both, and I'm like, I mean, I don't personally. I don't really fully always agree with people. They're always like, no, leave it entirely as it is because as long as you can play the original somewhere, let someone have a new experience of it if they want to.
It's that thing and you can get but in order to get, but then you have to judge the commercial benefits of doing it. It's if you look, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, I think is one of the best examples
Unbelievable,
of a remake because it was so in keeping with the original, but also massively different, and they had the original soundtrack and a brand new soundtrack, and it was just like it was extremely well done.
Is that the best example of this we could possibly think of? I think it is. I think you might be onto something. Like it's perfect. It's an absolutely perfect remake, isn't it? And remaster and remake is everything you want.
But it was expensive.
So it was worth every penny, man. It was worth every penny, in my opinion. Like it felt new to me because once again it was the new soundtrack as well, which I think really helped. And obviously, I don't know. It was just a brilliant game.
It was perfectly done. As in, you felt the nostalgia, you felt it, but it felt so much. But it had the controls from later games, and it had a load of nips and tucks and some updated culture things and characters, and it was just I was genuinely heartbroken when Vicarious Visions went over to Blizzard to do Diablo. It's like, I want Tony Hawk's 3+4. I wanted that more than that. Also Tony Hawk's 1+2 is the first time I've ever owned a game 3 times in a year. So I got that on the PS4 when it came out. I got upgraded to the PS5 version, and I got it on the Switch, and I completed them 3 times. This is so unusual for me. I can't even begin to. It's just such a wonderful game.
That's unusual for most people. Never mind, just for everyone else. That's how good
it is. Somebody that plays 5 or 6 games a year to play one of them 3 times is for me. It's just such a big deal, and I thought it was amazing, and I'd love to see more games.
No, it was one of my games of the year, easily, which is incredible because I guess maybe that game lent to it so well. It was already a perfect game. You didn't really need to do much more than just make it feel modern.
A great example of a game that actually wasn't in keeping but was amazing was Resident Evil 2 remake, right? Because that was another wonderful remake, but it was also extremely different. And there's loads. I did a huge article breaking down the different options people have when it comes to, do you just do what they did with Star Wars Pod Racer and just give it a HD sheen and stick it out, or do you? And depending on the type of game, the size of the audience, what you're trying to do, whether you're trying to bring an IP back or whether you're just trying to tap into nostalgia. This GTA collection is designed to celebrate the anniversary of GTA 3, and it's sort of tapping into that nostalgia. So I'm not expecting much for that reason.
I reckon people's opinion of what should happen to it is pretty much always based on the price. If it's 60 quid, you want a remake, don't you? If it's 30 quid, you're like, I want the resolutions at least and the controls and if it's tenner, you're fine with just put it on the Switch or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm always fascinated by gamers in this, and I'm happy to spend money on something that will take me a long time to play. So I didn't even consider the Mario collection as being expensive. Yeah, because I thought I'm going to complete those. I'm going to play those 3 Mario games from start to finish. It's probably about 80 or 90 hours of gameplay. It's well worth the money. But that's how I think, and I think it's a cinema thinking. I don't go into the cinema and watch, I don't know, The Quiet Place and go, this is ridiculous. I can't believe I paid the same amount of money as the Marvel movie. The Marvel movie costs way more to make. That thought doesn't go through my head. But in gamers, not all gamers, but some gamers, there really is. They were going, how dare Nintendo charge $60 for Skyward Sword? It didn't cost them that much money to make. And I've never known an audience to be so fascinated by the budgets of the games and whether or not that justifies the price. But they are. Value perception is completely different amongst different industries, and it's genuinely interesting. But yeah.
We could value. We're going to talk a bit about value now because we've got a little bit of discussion about the Xbox fridge. I'm going to start with this article, which is from the start of the week, and then jump onto the one following that as well because they're both linked. So, start of this week, Microsoft announced the launch plans for the Xbox Series X mini fridge, which was a meme that became true, and it was priced at $100 or 90 quid over in the UK. The pre-orders went live on October the 19th, with the products released in December 2021. And of course, this following article is what happened here. Pre-orders for the Xbox Series X mini fridge have sold out in the UK and US in a matter of minutes, and Retailer Game, which was the exclusive retailer for the mini fridge in the UK, put up pre-orders at 2 p.m. UK time, and by 2:10 p.m. customers were complaining on Twitter that it was already sold out. Meanwhile, customers trying to pre-order the fridge from the US exclusive retailer Target faced similar issues, with many adding it to their cart, then finding it had been sold out before they'd even finished the checkout process. To make matters even more frustrating for those who missed out, a number of these pre-orders have already started appearing on eBay, with prices going way beyond the $100/90 retail price. Some customers turned up at a local game store after being told they could pre-order there, only to be disappointed. One Twitter user said, told by Game Rugby we could come and pre-order today at 2 p.m. We went there, and we were there, and told they were allocated only to the bigger stores. So by the time we got online, they're out of stock. Why were we not told that before? Thanks so much. There is kind of a problem, isn't there, with scalping and all this kind of stuff. Well, it's not new news, but it is frustrating. I mean, what more can they do? How do you stop this? Can you stop it? Is it? where does the responsibility lie? Is it on of course it's on the retailers and so on. Is it a little bit on? Can eBay do anything? I don't know. What's your take on this, Dringer or Scullion?
I've done a lot on scalping. The answer is no. You can't really do anything about it. You can't. It is buying something for one price and selling it for another is what capitalist society is.
It's what game do, isn't it? Let's be honest.
That's what every retailer ever existed does. Now in the music industry, they did clamp down on this scalping to quite a degree and put in professional systems in place. That took years and years and years of very specific legislation. By the time a lot of people started off with the PS5 and stuff. By the time we'd have gone through the process of the PS5 and the Xbox and all that kind of stuff, the process would have been there will be plenty of PlayStation 5s on the shelves. With this stuff, the only solution is don't buy from scalpers. And it's the people will, but that's the only thing you can do, because if scalpers aren't going to make lots of money from selling these products on, they'll stop doing it. Retailers do limit stuff. They do have limits for things. They do checks afterwards to see if any bot has bought 50 copies of the same thing, and they end up cancelling them. And they do this. These processes do exist behind the scenes. It's like, and the actual fact, you'll find that the majority of people who did buy the product did actually want the product. But in terms of actually what can be done about it, you can do lottery schemes, but then that sort of just favors anybody that enters a lottery scheme. You may not even been that interested in it. You might just put yourself in the lottery. Who knows? You might get one. So there's loads of different schemes out there, but none of them are a perfect solution. Otherwise, we'd have done it right now.
For me, the ideal solution, and this only obviously works for things that aren't limited edition, and by all accounts, this fridge, there'll be more being sold on the day, and apparently
I can't believe we're sat here talking about a fridge, by the way.
Listen, I had a bad day and a good day for that. Like I was working and didn't realize it was going up at it was going maybe my Christmas present from the missus. She was going to buy me it for my Christmas for my wee games room here, and I was working and didn't realize it was going up at 2:00. So by the time I realized it was already gone, I was raging. But then my local game that only just opened, so it's got like 80 followers on Twitter, tweeted at like 4:00. We've still got some left for pre-order in store, so I drove down and got one, so I managed to get one pre-ordered. But for me, as long as it's not limited edition, which it sounds like this isn't, because there's more coming next year apparently, they should just do what they did with the Steam Deck and what Playdate are doing with the Playdate, in that it's an open pre-order, and when you pre-order, you just put on a list, and if you're not there, if you didn't meet the cut-off point for launch day, then when the next batch comes in, you're in that list, or the list after that, and it means it's still first come first served, but it's not like first 500 come, the next can piss off. It's like everyone gets their order in, and then you'll just get it depending on whenever it turns up, and that kills the scalping. It doesn't kill scalping, but
would it be frustrating if you knew when batches were arriving as well, as opposed to drip feeding constantly? Because it's the drip feed, isn't it? Makes it so frustrating because you're constantly searching online and so on.
It's like the Steam Deck situation where a lot of people are saying, "Well, I was quick enough to get the first batch," or "I'm being estimated this date, that date," and then at least then you know where you stand, and you think, "Well, if I'm patient enough, I'm definitely getting one." And then if you desperately I need it by Christmas, then you start entering the dodgy scalper scene. But at least everyone who wants one can get one, and eventually, and they're not refreshing Argos at 8 a.m. every morning, and they're not chasing pre-orders. Just get your name on a list, and then you'll get it eventually. That seems to be the best way of doing it. It's just
the challenge of that is that you took Playdate and Valve is that they're not retail businesses.
No, exactly. So retailers,
they are retailers themselves, but they don't work with retailers, and that's and Xbox and Nintendo and Play, they need the retailers on their side and supporting their products. So it's a little different, but something like that might work, where you can just like an unlimited pre-order, just put your name on the list, and then I guess maybe you have to put some money down in order to, so people don't just put their names on the list 100 times.
But again, like you say, that the retailers complicates that, having because Game would be like, well, why is our list any less valuable than Smith's list, or GameSpot's list, GameStop's list, and it's just it becomes.
And everyone puts their names on every list.
And every list that ends up with 4 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I do that with Amiibo, because they always seem to go on sale on Game first, and I end up going to Game and pre-ordering it. But Game have the delivery charge, so I wait, and then if I get money, but I have to pre-order it there first to guarantee I've got it. And then as soon as it goes up on the Nintendo store or whatever, I'll order it from there and end up cancelling the Game one. Some that,
always order it from Game, official Nintendo store, and Amazon, 3 places. Always end up getting 2 and taking a hit and having to sell one on to someone for this retail
This is
price.
like peak first world problems, isn't it? It really is. Like, I couldn't get my Xbox fridge until I but it is frustrating. I mean, it is, and it's and I think Dring goes right. Unfortunately, the problem is they make it tempting, don't they? Like, oh, well, it's £400 PS5, but it's only $450. I can get it, and then it's just enough for them to make a bit of profit, and then it's never going to go, unfortunately, because just, if I put it bluntly, no bets exist, and they're going to exist forever, and they're always going to be there, but we can do the best. Go on.
It's one of the advantages of physical retail, though, because I think one of the problems we've had with scalping on the console space is the only place to get them is online.
Yeah.
So everyone's rushing to the same destinations to order stuff. Whereas when they were distributed amongst hundreds of different retail stores, you thought, oh, there's none available in my town, but maybe if I pop over to that town, I might be able to order one. There was always, if you're really, really, really desperate for it, there's a good chance you could get it. But it's not like that these days. But it's that thing, like the amount of people as well. Every time I tweet about something selling out, someone says to me, or something doing really well, everyone tweets to me, Switch OLED. So I love the Switch OLED and story of the week about it having a really good launch. Somebody said, that's because scalpers bought it all. And they sent me a link to people selling it on eBay. And I just went, but it's still available right now on the Nintendo store. Like, it hasn't sold out. And so if someone is buying the Switch OLED on eBay for £50 more than it's available in stores that you can buy right now, that's where I'm like, I don't know how I can solve this problem for you. It's just don't buy from scalpers if you can.
And weirdly, the physical, I lost it, like my Series X and my OLED, I got in store by just going and looking in store, I think it's because they presume it's not going to be there because the online stock isn't whatever. So that would be my advice, definitely. Just go into the local store and ask. And like my Series X, I got because I went into Game One. I don't suppose you've got any, because I was there to pick up something. I can't remember, but I was like, I don't suppose you got any Series X, have you? And they're like, no, but actually, I think we might have some tomorrow morning, maybe. And that was never going to be on Twitter or anything like that. I just went in the next day and they're like, yeah, we got some, and they had like 20 just there. And they're like, and obviously people wouldn't expect to come and get them because they presume it's online and so on. And so that would be my tip anyway to anyone looking to it. Just go into the physical stores a bit more. Go and back your local Game or your local Smiths or whatever is what I would say. Yeah,
there are still some indies out there.
Yeah, there is. I wish there was more. There isn't any Manchester anymore, unfortunately. There was a few, but they seem to have gone. They've gone under, which is a bit of a shame. But what are the indie games ones these days? Remember Electronics Boutique? Because that's the ones bought by Games, wasn't it? Was that one bought by Games?
Yeah. Yeah, there's one in my town called Entertainment Base. I went in there thinking I'm going to support my local indie to buy Deathloop, and it sold out, which I was like, well, good for them.
Scalpers got them all.
There's one in Glasgow. I'm assuming it's still on the go, but I've not seen people refer to it recently. Anytime a big game was coming out, people would sometimes refer to it on Twitter as the secret shop, because they would sell it like 2 days before. They secretly sell it 2 days before.
That sounds dodgy.
It's very dodgy, but it was their way of competing.
Break the street dates.
It was like 3 doors down from a game, and like that was how they stayed afloat. Was that they broke the street date.
Do they exist anymore?
I don't know if I'm not sure. It's been.
I wonder why.
It's been a couple of years since I've seen people referring to it, but
a lot of the indies steered into pre-owned, which sort of faded away quite a bit, or retro games. But eBay hurts that a little bit. There's been a few. There's still a few. There's one in Cardiff I used to go to quite a lot. I think it's still there. There's a lot of retro games. Quite like that.
Oh, bless. Good times. I mean, one thing I would say is, Game, please stop trying to offer me £1 for disc protection. No one's ever, I've never, ever in a million years am I going to take that ever. Like, I've never had, have you ever had a game that didn't work? Like, ever. Again, they do it every single time. They're like, mate, I'm not going to pay £1 for a disc protection. It's unnecessary. Anyway, Game, it's good stuff there. They're good people. Good people. Thanks for watching this episode of VGC Off The Record. Of course, let us know.
what a final way to end it. Anyway, Game, they're good people. Thanks.
The staff are always so friendly in there. They really are, and I genuinely mean that.
Do you know, I was refused. Not refused.
Maybe the bad people. Maybe I was wrong. Go on, tell me the story.
Before I started my prosperous games journalism career. Like a month before I got my job at Official Nintendo magazine, I applied for a job at Game and didn't get it because I was told I didn't have enough gaming experience. Because basically the interview was like to the manager and some other guy, and they were basically saying, "So do you play Warcraft?" No. And then they spent like 10 minutes talking to themselves about their Warcraft characters and where they're at and all that. I was like, and then that was the end of the interview. So because I didn't play Warcraft, basically, and then a month later, I was at O&M.
I never got into a game. I was really upset. I applied a couple of times. Never did when I was younger. I don't know why. I was there all the time, literally all the time. It was Electronics Boutique actually beforehand, and I was just so upset by it. But go on, what you gonna say?
A lot of people did start their careers there. When I joined MCV a couple of years, I ordered I ordered Call of Duty. You remember the Call of Duty that came with the night vision goggles? Is it first Modern Warfare 2? I think it was. And I ordered it from HMV, and the delivery got lost. I booked the week off to play it, so I then went to my local game to order it from them, but I didn't bring my ID with me. And I must have been like 23 or whatever it was, and they wouldn't sell it to me for my ID. And I did the most. I mean, I really hate myself for this. I said, "You've got a copy of MCV back there. If you look in the magazine, because I work because MCV get delivered to Game." And the person looked at it and saw me and went, "Oh yeah, that means you could be doing a mystery shop and testing us." And I went close to do. MCV used to do mystery shops quite a lot.
Oh, I got you.
I got me. I ended up going to Argos and buying it from there instead.
He got you outsmarted you there massively, didn't he? Fair play to that.
I thought, yeah, fair enough. So I should have bought my ID.
You could have also said, "Oh, I didn't know MCV employs minors."
Yeah.
Oh, they were very pleased that I was there, but they still wouldn't sell me the game.
Fair play to them, I guess. Like they've great people.
Lovely folks.
Yeah, lovely folks. On that note, my worst experience, by the way, in an interview, and it's totally unrelated, but it's kind of because it's media, is Apple. I got into the Apple. Like, you ever had an Apple interview, by the way? And someone who watches this video will relate to it. It's cult-like and weird. It was where I was anyway. They all clap you in as you walk in. It's really strange. All the staff stay there when you walk in. You're in a group of people. And I got to like the second stage interview, and I'm not kidding. I made a joke about Apple products having bad battery life, and that was like during the interview. And I went, "Oh, I said we were talking about Apple products again." I went, "Oh, my iPod's good, but new one came out, battery died, of course." Like, I made a joke like that in the interview, and I'm not kidding. I was essentially like booed. It was really weird. Like, people just they started to say, "Ooh," like that at me. I was like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, "What the hell?" I was like, "It's just a joke, obviously." They're passionate about everything. I was in a band and everything at this time. I was using my MacBook for like editing and all this kind of stuff. I was a perfect like MacBook user and all this kind of stuff, and they just like wouldn't talk to me after that point during the interview. And I was like,
I've not been through the Apple Store.
It's mad.
But I've heard about it.
I was interviewed by I got interviewed by like actual Apple to be, I think someone we know, Dringo, but I'll not name them. Like, ended up getting the job instead. As like I went the same job. We got the same job experience. And it was like to be the editor of the games section in the Apple Store, essentially. And I'd been at like Future for like 9 years at that point. I was and I'd been punted because they closed down CVG, and I was like, okay, well, I'll try this Apple gig. And for some reason, I just didn't prepare at all for it, and I looked like an absolute knob. For some reason, I just thought, well, I've been writing about games for a decade, I'll be fine. And I sat down, and they were like, "Oh, do you know about mobile games?" I'm like, "Yep, I play this." And they said, "Right, name the 3 most profitable mobile developers." I was like, "Don't know." That was it. It's just like piss off. And I was like, why did I not even prepare?
Yeah, I didn't have I had a little better experience. It wasn't much better, but I sort of, when you got halfway through the interview and I thought, you don't want me and I don't want to be here anymore. It was like, well, we'll continue with this game, but I've decided this job isn't for me, and you've decided that I'm not for you, and we both know it. It was one of those,
lovely people though.
Lovely people, though, if you don't mind wide stares and enthusiasm, which you get a lot of. I mean, fair play to those people. I know because my cousin works there, and he's a lovely guy, but he's intense about his Apple supporting, like really intense, and like, I'm like, Stu, man, calm down. It's just a phone. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching this episode of VGC Off The Record. I apologise intensely for taking it hugely off the rails, but I don't care. I enjoyed it. That's all that matters to us guys over here. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode of VGC Off The Record. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe if you are new to this channel. We'll be back next Friday, and put in the comments below your idea, your pitch for a video game game adaptation for a film or a series, it's not going to top Pilot Wings, let's be honest. That's coming to a screen near you in 2024. I can't wait. It's going to get 4.8 on Metacritic, but Rotten Tomatoes, but this guy's going to love it, and I can't wait. Guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you all very, very soon. See you later.
Yeah. Top people.